Welcome, everybody, to the Sentinels of Liberty podcast. I am your host, Redbeard. And as always, we always lead with liberty. We do not compromise on our principles. So, today, we are going to have a conversation essentially based around like the foreign policy and the continued, for whatever reason, damaging, entangling alliances that we seem to still just be involved in. There's absolutely just no seeming mindset in which the idea of actually making something America first, actually having a America first policy ever seems to remotely enter into the minds of the elected officials that we have at the top. And I hate to say it, but this is something that is not only just a administrative type of situation, but we see it even at the state level. It's a huge mess, right? You have people within our government that, for whatever reason, feel the need to have to overwhelmingly gush in support at essentially the betrayal of Americans, other countries, named very predominantly like Ukraine and Israel. So it's just a freaking mess. We're going to get into some of that tonight. It's not going to be a super long episode, but just bear with me because we are going to talk about the MOU. What is the MOU? The Memorandum of Understanding. Now, one thing that I do think is very interesting that has been pointed out by several people already is I think a lot of people are going into the memorandum of understanding with the idea that, this is going to be, this is it. It's a great deal. It is what it is. It's simply a framework in which they can launch negotiations, further negotiations. But the problem is unfortunately, we have a situation where it seems like there's one entity, there's one country within the realm right now that seemingly just wants to screw it all up. And why is that? Because if their best benefactor tends to agree or even come to some form of a conclusion or an agreement with Iran, then they're kind of left out in the dust. We'll get into that a little bit here first. Thank you, first and foremost, to everybody who has come out this evening to check out the episode. Thank you for all of your support. It is greatly, greatly appreciated. I know it's going to be a little bit different from the formats, not having it basically every week, but I am trying to do the best that I can with the time that I have. So if you do like what you see, toss a like and subscribe, maybe share the episode and get the word out. I will be doing it still twice a month, but I'm going to have to try and adjust things as time goes on. So without further ado, let's kind of get into some of the stuff here. So this one is, it's from antiwar.com, and I do want to give due credit here, by Nolan Denaro. It is on the antiwar.com blog, and it is Israel, Lebanon, and the Fragility of the MOU. Now, I thought this was kind of interesting. I was reading through it, and I thought there were some pretty interesting points here, so I wanted to share that with you. And going down here to the first area where skepticism is a fair response, and I do believe that is the case. I think any realm in which we're not being skeptical about how this thing is going to move forward, I think is kind of ridiculous. I think the idea that there is going to be this catch-all agreement that's just going to fix everything is pretty naive. I think it's pretty early in the process to even say. And quite frankly, we're already seeing provocations, and we're not seeing any form of relenting on behalf of Israel. And look, we're going to get into this a little bit, but Israel has said, hey, we're not a signatory to any of this, so we don't have to do that. But in the end of the day, what I'm about to read you here kind of alludes to the idea that there has to be a cessation in areas, in particular Lebanon. So let's go through this here and see what the very first area, the very first paragraph of this says. And as Nolan goes to point out here and wonderfully displays this, the United States of America and the Islamic Republic of Iran and their allies in the current war are signing this MOU to declare immediate and permanent termination of military operations on all fronts, including in Lebanon, okay, and undertake from now on not to initiate any war or any military operation against each other, and to refrain from the threat or use of force against each other, and ensuring the territorial integrity and sovereignty of Lebanon. The final deal will confirm the permanent termination of the war on all fronts, again, alluding to the idea that this is simply acknowledging what is being put forth, and they had made the point that the final deal, which alludes to further negotiations in the coming 60 days, I believe, will confirm the permanent termination of the war on all fronts, including Lebanon, and other provisions in this paragraph. So it's pretty clear from the onset what the intention was in terms of what the memorandum of understanding was attempting to achieve, right? And Lebanon is a key area within the MOU, citing like, hey, look, we have a lot of things, and some of those things are the nuclear material. Some of those things are pertaining to funds, both the frozen assets, and there are potentially rebuilding costs that can be examined. Now you have sides that are saying, oh, that wasn't there. Oh, that is there. Whatever the case is. I'm very skeptical of all of it, but I digress. There's a number of different things. There was even a relenting as it pertained to the missiles. Trump had even himself pointed that out. And so there's a list of things that the United States essentially would capitulate on, and up to and including the Hormuz issue. And but notwithstanding all of that stuff, there is this issue as it pertains to Lebanon. Now, this is very interesting because as it is right now, and I understand that, there was quote unquote a ceasefire, but look, what we have to understand is there is such a notorious pattern of Israel breaking a ceasefire. And I'm not saying Hezbollah wouldn't, but in the end of the day, not only do we have a situation where both the United States and Israel have claimed a ceasefire, but then gone on to, like, shortly after, either assassinate somebody or start bombing again. In the end of the day, it doesn't mean anything to me, because the United States government and the Israeli government's words mean absolutely nothing, because they've shown it means absolutely nothing. They will make a quote unquote deal, and then they'll go on and they'll go and kill somebody, or they will start bombing all over again. So you have a situation to where there's no credibility in it whatsoever. So as it pertains to the memorandum of understanding and the things that float around in this, a heavy amount of skepticism should be taken basically with a grain of salt until we really see some longevity come out of this, and we start to see any real actionable permanence that comes in with this. But as we'll kind of get into here shortly, Iran talks in Geneva have been, Iran-U.S. talks in Geneva had been postponed, as reported yesterday. And there was some, again, alluding to the point that there was something talked about as far as Israel and Hezbollah having a ceasefire. Again, we've seen this show before, right? So we're going to move down here and just examine a few other areas. The Israeli war in Lebanon. This is one of the parts that I wanted to highlight. You have Itmar Ben-Gvir, who says, Trump's agreement does not bind us. Israel is not subject to the United States, and we are an independent and sovereign nation. Hey, you know what? Great. If that's the case, then you don't need our funding. You don't need any of our assistance. You don't need any of our assets. If you really want to pull the sovereignty card, great. Fight your own war on your own. We do not have to come and run to save you. We don't have to fund you. We don't have to support you in any which way possible. But that's right. You get so much funding because without the funding, without all the weapons that we provide you, without any of this, it's becoming a fairly common conclusion about the fact that you would be absolutely rolled if you are left to your own devices. So we have to come in, we have to save you by funding you, by giving you resources, by giving you military equipment, by all of these different things. And the one thing that a lot of people don't want to talk about is the simple fact that if you look at both the desertion, and on top of that, the suicide rate in the Israeli military. Nobody wants to talk about that, but that's also another serious issue. And a lot of that was stemming from Gaza, notwithstanding some of the things that I'm sure we have still yet to see as it pertains to Lebanon. But look, you want your sovereignty? Great. You're not our problem. You're not Americans. You'll never be Americans. We don't want you to be a part of us. And in the end of the day, you fix your own problems with your own toys and your own funding. Flat out. That should be the policy we should have, not only just with Israel, but with other people like Ukraine and the greater portion of Western Europe. But unfortunately, we have people that cuck out and they say, oh, we have to support Israel. We have to support Ukraine. We have to do this and that. They're not our problem. They're not Americans. Flat out, they're not Americans. And Americans don't need Israeli problems. And quite frankly, Israel doesn't have to be a part of our problems. Plain and simple. Same thing with Ukraine. Ukraine isn't our problem. We don't need their problems. We don't need either country dragging us into further escalation in terms of their wars, in terms of their deeds or misdeeds, whatever the case is. Look, if you want to trade, that's one thing. If you want to have business deals, that's one thing. Beyond that, Washington was pretty clear. George Washington had a pretty clear foreign policy moving ahead with the United States, and it's a policy that has been very much enshrined in who we are supposed to be as a country, and not looking for monsters to destroy abroad, of course, but actually defending the United States of America. We have individuals that don't care about that. They will send your sons and daughters to go die for other countries because it's not their sons and daughters, and they have spent too much time, money, and effort to try and get an outcome that's just simply not going to happen. Again, you're seeing a sunk cost fallacy type of situation. We're in too far. We can't possibly go back, because if we would, it would be a betrayal of the people who've already died. Well, I'm here to tell you, you betrayed those people as soon as you sent them to die for the lies and the reasons and the excuses that you make to be involved in this. So look, long and the short of it, fine. You be a sovereign country. Stop asking us for money. Stop begging us to help you. Keep us out of your problems. And more importantly, if you don't have a problem with it, then we don't need your PACs or anybody that's running a PAC on your behalf in our country. All of those people, we don't need any of that, okay? You are irrelevant. 9 million people. You guys can be on your own. Perfect. Fantastic. So, look, I'm not opposed to that. You do you, hombre, okay? That's not me problem. If you guys start getting rolled and you can't wear the big boy pants, then it is what it is. So, moving forward, there's something else interesting that I think JD Vance has talked about here, and I want to highlight this. There's 2 points that Nolan in his blog post here points out, and I think they're really good. So again, big credit to Nolan and the on antiwar.com here. But JD Vance goes to say, I guess my message to them would be twofold. Number one, Donald J. Trump. This is great. This is great. Donald J. Trump is the only head of state in the entire world who is sympathetic to the nation of Israel at this moment in time. Gee, I wonder why. I really wonder why. And quite frankly, I don't think he should be. I think we should, again, let's give them their sovereignty. They asked for it. They want it. You can stand on your own. But I digress. And he happens to be the head of state of the world superpower. Okay, well, that's a message in and of itself. I'm not saying it's a good message, but it's certainly a message. If it was, if I was in the cabinet of the Israeli government, that's it's a very interesting choice of words, but I digress. I might not be attacking the only powerful ally that I have anywhere left in the entire world. Well, yeah, I mean, again, why are we allies with them? Entangling alliances were the things that the founding fathers overwhelmingly disagreed with. They really like the idea of free trade, peaceful relations, friendly relations, being able to deal with people, and there are appropriate ways like treaties and stuff like that in which we are supposed to engage with other people, but entangling relations with none was a core principle of the founding generation. Now, moving down here, he goes on to talk about, I'll highlight this here. Over the last 3 months, 2/3 of the defensive weapons that have protected your homeland have been built by American hands. Again, you want to be sovereign, but you're really not that sovereign, because you depend on us for so much, you know. Um, paid for by American tax dollars. Why are my American tax dollars being paid to ship weapons to your country? That makes no sense. I didn't agree to this. I don't want to agree to it. You guys got to figure this out on your own. The problem for Israel, as he goes on to say, is not Donald J. Trump. And anybody in Israel who thinks their biggest problem is the president of the United States needs to wake up and smell the reality of the situation that country is in. Oh, that was a pretty scathing point that good old fancy boy had to say. So you can kind of see that there's a little bit of friction. Now, again, this very much could also be just a trumped up little playwright in which we're seeing one thing that they want us to see. I'm very skeptical about all of this, but let's move on here and see what else he has to say in his blog here. Can the MOU survive? My personal opinion, I will be shocked if we get to the 60-day mark. But I'll even go sooner. I'll be shocked if we even hit 30 days to a point where we're even close. We are even remotely close to getting anything that even resembles some form of a concrete deal between us and Iran. That's my opinion. I could be wrong, and if I'm wrong, I'll admit that I'm wrong. But given the pattern, I'm very skeptical that we're going to see anything of that's going to be fruitful. And he goes on to say the U.S. is achieving to seek a peace deal with Iran to end this war. I do think that Trump doesn't want to be involved in this. I think he realizes what a catastrophe this is. Doesn't take away from the fact that he still chose to do this. It is a war of choice, nonetheless. But I think there is a realization that is setting in to some degree about the fact that this whole freaking thing has been an absolute catastrophe, and it's been a catastrophe in many points. And them having to constantly switch their narrative from a regime change to it was about the nuclear material that we obliterated all of the nuclear stuff, but now there's material we had to take out. And then we fully changed the regime, but the regime somehow is still the remnants of the existing regime. So therefore, you change the regime to the regime. Not sure how that solves anything. Then he went on to say that we want to help the people of Iran. This is, of course, Trump. We want to help the people of Iran, liberate them. But then in another breath, we're going to totally, essentially annihilate your entire civilization. And so there's that, which makes it really weird. And then there's the whole missile thing. They can't have missiles, but okay, now it's fine that they can have missiles. And we have to get, as so many talking heads in the administration have said, oh, we have to open up the Strait of Hormuz. You guys, I don't know who you're appealing to here. And I don't know if you know this, I'm certainly a first grader has more wherewithal and competency to be able to illustrate this for you. The Strait of Hormuz was open before you decided with Israel to attack Iran. All of these things were never an issue until you guys decided that you were going to go and attack Iran. And now you're realizing, oh, we made a mistake, so we're going to try and get it back to normal. I'm here to tell you, I don't think there's any going back to normal. I really don't. You might see some flow in traffic and stuff like that, but it's not going to be open and free in terms of Hormuz the way that you think it's going to be. And if it is, I'll be shocked. I'll be really shocked. You fought a war to get back to the same point that you were at before you started the war. How does that make any sense? And might I remind everybody, as I'm sure it's still in their brain pans, American service people, servicemen and women, are dead just to get back to normal. So these people died. Our service members died just to return back to normal. Wow. Great job. Fantastic. And not only that, though, our bluff was called in terms of military power. Now, we do have a very strong military. Don't get me wrong. They called our bluff. The world saw it. We didn't launch a ground invasion. They took everything we threw at them. They retaliated, destroyed our bases, like 10 to 13 bases or something like that. They, have rebuked the very idea of being compelled by military force. We would have been better off not attacking Iran over stupid reasons and, by quite frankly, listening to stupid people in countries that have nothing to do with us. And we could have saved face and kept up the image that we are the most dominant power in the world. And that it was if your whole point was to maintain a hegemony, keeping that illusion that the U.S. can never be beaten, nobody would ever attack us, nobody would ever, well, when I say attack us, nobody would ever defend themselves against our advances, right? In quite the way that Iran happened to do, because nobody would challenge U.S. Hegemony. But now all that's out the window. There's no incentive for anybody to take anything the United States has said seriously. There's a major incentive for countries who do not have nuclear weapons to gain nuclear weapons. There's a massive incentive for people to militarize their countries, even more so than they may already be. I don't understand how any of this has been a positive. The only positive is if we get out of there, we stop this stupid war, and we leave, and we don't do anything as it pertains to Iran here on out. The best thing that we can do is to go away from all of these things and just have normal relations with people. But I highly doubt that's going to happen, because the fledgling little child country that always drags us into wars as it pertains to the Middle East for one reason or another has us by the balls. And when I say us, I mean our government officials. So we're constantly doing stuff in the interest of people that are not Americans. And you saw it numerous times. This situation where Trump would go up, on a news broadcast, be like, oh, I don't care about affordability. Inflation's not that big of an issue. I'm not too concerned about people paying that much more at the gas pump. Essentially what he's saying is, I don't really care about what your problems are as Americans. We have to make other people happy. And that's supposedly the America First idea. If you go back, and he says, like, oh, I never said any of these things that so many people have pointed out that he clearly talked about, which is no more new wars, creating a solution or having a solution to the immigration issue, which he's relented on that, as well as a number of other things. What have you done at all to benefit Americans that has not somehow ended up just benefiting other people, namely Israelis, Ukrainians, and other people who seemingly just want to suck off the teat of the American nation? You know, the U.S. So, I mean, man, what insanity! What absolute insanity! You know, it's baffling. It's mind blowing to me. You know, so that's just one look at this situation here. Okay, just one look. So moving on. Oops, I need to. I'm going to bring up another article here, and let's see if I can bring it up here real quick. Man, it'd be nice if I had an assistant, but you know, it is what it is. I got this. So this is, I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this, but it is something that I think is very interesting. U.S. talks in Geneva postponed over brutal Israeli attacks. Again, it kind of speaks for itself. This is a link provided by antiwar.com. Start of a 60-day period of technical negotiations between Iran and the U.S. in Geneva was postponed on 19 June, following a brutal Israeli escalation against South and East Lebanon. You know, the Swiss Foreign Ministry confirmed in a statement that the talks have been pushed with no new date provided. The vice president canceled his flight to Switzerland. Tehran's delegation also did not depart. According to Tehran is demanding guarantees that Israeli attacks on Lebanon and guarantees that Israeli attacks on Lebanon and before ongoing ahead with talks. The Iranians have asked for guarantees that hostilities in Lebanon will end as outlined in the signed agreement. Mediators are currently working to resolve the issue. The source told or said that adding that talks have been temporarily postponed following the Israeli strikes in Lebanon. Look, I mean, you guys can already see where this is going. I don't have to really elaborate that much more. I will post these in the description down below, so you guys and gals will be able to have an opportunity to go back and read these articles that I'm pulling up here. But again, we're seeing a behavior consistently that it's constantly just derailing any potential negotiations. It for whatever reason, we allow the people of these other countries, whether it's Israel, whether it's the EU, to come in and somehow manipulate or create an issue as it pertains to any meaningful talks whatsoever, any potential negotiations whatsoever. It's absolute insanity. And look, I'm sorry, but I don't understand where the U.S. government, this current administration, ever got it in their minds that they had enough clout to actually tell Israel, like, you can't do this. Look, simply telling them not to do something is not going to work. As I said before, they emphasized, Ben-Gvir said, we're a sovereign nation. Great. Then you have sovereign problems. And those problems don't include, they never did, but they don't include the United States. Good luck. Have a great time. You can fund your own wars. You can fund your own problems, and you can deal with your own issues. Pull that funding, and I guarantee you they'll absolutely whine about it, and then don't give them anything back because it has nothing to do with us. Nothing to do with us. And look, if they get rolled for trying to go into other people's countries and bomb other people and all of this, look, yeah, you can make the argument they have the ability to defend themselves. That defense stops when you go into a country and you start bombing apartment buildings and it just to try and find one guy, when the Israeli military touts their military as having some of the highest speed, most precision ground operators that ever existed. And not only that, they call themselves the most moral army in the world. Great. So let's see those that morality, and let's see those ground operators do their job without having to just drop munitions on every building that you see because you make the excuse that, oh, we think somebody was hiding in there. No, it's not about that. It's not about that. It wasn't about that in Gaza. Wasn't about that in the West Bank. Well, they're into the idea of cleansing and sanitizing an area, flat out, cleansing and sanitizing. You don't have to like it. You don't have to overwhelmingly agree with it, but their actions speak for themselves. Their patterns speak for themselves. That is their MO. They don't care about what we say to them. Therefore, we should pull the funding, never give them a dime ever again. And if they want to buy stuff from us, great. You can buy stuff from us at a 30% markup. Or better yet, we can turn off the tap and be like, hey, we're not even going to be party to any of this. And it is what it is. So, I mean, you have that whole situation. It's just a freaking nightmare. So you have this entangling alliance that's married with foreign policy decisions in the United States. And then on top of that, there's one more area that I want to bring up. And I know that this is a little bit older, but this is another huge sticking point that I have. And I'm going to bring up something else also. But let's just take a look at this. The NDAA Section 224 aims to fuse the U.S. and Israeli military industry. Now, in all fairness, I heard there was some pretty stout pushback here and there. I don't know how widespread that was. I had been out of the loop for a little bit, but good. There should be pushback from this going on, and this is from the Free Thought Project on June 1st, 2026. So I want to give them some credit as well. At a time when the American public is expressing unprecedented levels of distrust in the Israeli government, that's putting it mildly, Congress just proposed tying the U.S. to the Israeli military more than ever. Buried in the House's version of the 2027 National Defense Authorization Act, or NDAA, released on Tuesday is Section 224, entitled United States-Israel Defense Technology Cooperation Initiative. This provision would arguably do more to intertwine or entangle the U.S. military with the Israeli military more than the more than $200 billion inflation-adjusted military assistance Israel has received from the U.S. since its founding in 1948. Section 224 lays the groundwork for bilateral research and development, co-production of weapons, joint ventures, licensing agreements, and seemingly every manner of U.S.-Israeli military-industrial complex cooperation. The U.S. and Israel already work together heavily on missile defense, but this provision would greatly expand the coordination to seemingly every area of defense tech, including AI, quantum, autonomous systems, directed energy, cyber biotech, and many more. It also proposes network integration and data fusion. In other words, the U.S. military's data could soon be the Israeli military's data. Wow. So instead of them having to come and spy on us, which is something the Pentagon itself had expressed, not that I think just a couple weeks ago, concerns about the fact that Israeli agents had been caught spying on the Pentagon and other sensitive areas. This is the solution. This is the solution that you provide. Is you want, instead of having them spy on us and being like, hey, you got to stop that, you got to knock that off. No, you know what? Better yet. And here's the art of the deal speaking. You know what? It's going to be huge, okay? Instead of having you spy on us, we're just going to give you carte blanche, so this is the solution. Just giving them carte blanche to everything that they could possibly want, integrating their systems with ours. So at that point, they would be able to look. This is how ratty I think the Israeli government is. They would take our information, which they've done, and they'd sell it to other people, other countries. You want to really, and look, this standard applies to any country. No country should ever be intertwined or entangled with our country's defense network and systems ever. If you want technology, you buy it. If you want access to something, there's going to be a price there, but you are not intertwining your systems with our country whatsoever. This type of situation is not only absolutely reprehensible to the very fabric of our country and the founding of what we were founded on. No entangling alliances at all. But this is an absolute betrayal. Even if this thing is struck down, the very idea that it was proposed is an absolute betrayal of the American people. Flat out. There, no exception whatsoever. It is a flat out betrayal of the American people, hands down. I don't care what anybody says. So the idea that we're just going to start like intertwining and intermingling our military and our defense network and all of this stuff with a foreign country is absolutely ridiculous. I just want to take a minute here just to look at the comments here. David, how you doing? Ronan, great to have you over here, brother. Really appreciate you popping in. Yeah, it's, you know, it's incredible to me that there's really just this, I'll call it how I see it, okay? These people in suits that sit in these elected positions, that make these decisions, that put other people before Americans, flat out, not only in their actions, but in their words, in the things that they have said and done, things that they have professed. We have people that sit in our government offices that profess. Senator Ted Cruz, the reason he became a senator was to work in the interests of Israel. That man should be ripped out of his Senate seat, and never allowed to even remotely go near a government office ever again. Flat out betrayal. If you are not working on behalf of the American people, as you took the oath to do, you are working against the American people, and you don't care about their interests. Therefore, you should never be allowed near a government, a government toilet, for all I care. Should never be allowed near it ever again. But none of these people are held to account. And instead, many of these people, like Fine and Cruz and Huckabee and all of these other freaking individuals, trying my best not to swear here, man, they make it hard. Their interests lie with foreign countries. And look, again, while there is predominantly a push towards the Israel thing, look, it's not just them. This applies across the board, people. This applies across the board. We should not be intertwining ourselves with other nations. We can have friendly relations. We can have good trade. You know, we can have all the things that Washington laid out. I think I'm very Washingtonian on foreign policy. I think he had it right. That's just me. I think he had it right. I think it's the best way to move forward while having a decent, robust defense. I think that's important. But in the end of the day, when you're practically docking with another country and you're going to open yourself up to their systems, even just the insinuation in the idea is reprehensible to me. It's not only not America first, it's, in my opinion, it's an extreme betrayal. And I think that there needs to be a lot more of a rebuke at even the notion of something like this in the future. So Guys and gals, look, this whole freaking thing is a mess. It's all been the U.S. foreign policy, not just with Trump, but with Biden and many others, have been a colossal just failure. Okay. We have people that really just have no idea what being a diplomat is. They have no idea how to actually negotiate. These people have no intention whatsoever, even if they do, in negotiating on behalf of Americans. They don't care about Americans. Again, how many times did Trump have to say it where it's just like, I don't care about inflation. I don't care about rising costs. I don't care about your problems, right? Look, not my words, it's his. It's all over the place. You can go find it. I don't I don't have to make stuff up. That's how bad this is. I don't even have to make stuff up. It's even worse than what I could come up with. So we really kind of have to take some pauses, and we have to take a step back and be like, what the heck is even happening here? What I would say is, okay, just go forward with a grain of salt. Go forward with a little healthy skepticism, and just be prepared for everything to just go sideways at a moment's notice. That's really, and it's not a black pill. That's just the reality of, like, if you just follow patterns, you're going to be so far ahead of the curve at that point in trying to understand these situations that you'll likely be able to have some type of an idea of what the end game may potentially be like. So many people knew the Iran thing was going to be a colossal mistake and failure. American servicemen and women, they died basically in the end of the day just to have things before we started messing and making war with Iran, like going to war with Iran, right? And now they want everything back to, it's like, good Lord. I can't think of what a betrayal of life, what a betrayal of Americans, and just what a colossal failure this has all been. I'd like to know your thoughts down below. Really appreciate everybody taking the time to check out the live tonight. Let me know what your thoughts are. Where do you think this thing is, man? Do you feel like this is a mistake? Do you feel like we are just like this is just a dumpster fire that the hobos just keep pouring gasoline on just to try and see how bad it's going to get? Or do you think everything is fine? Do you think that there's no issue whatsoever? Or are you just even marginally concerned? It doesn't even have to be an extreme. Always curious to hear what you guys and gals think. Leave some comments down below, and I will do the very best that I can to address those comments in due time. I obviously can't get to all of them right away, but I will do the best that I can. And with that being said, thank you so much for coming out to the Sentinels of Liberty podcast. I really appreciate it. I'm going to just read a few comments here before I log off, but thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to stop in and join me tonight. Ronan, I have to put this up here. Can I get back to you after the World Cup? Hey, brother, man, look, I mean, that seems to be a pretty general sentiment. Yeah, please do. I'm actually I'm pretty intrigued to see how that one's going to turn out. So yeah, and I don't have a dog in the World Cup fight. So to all the soccer fans or football fans, as the Europeans say, or everybody else says, except Americans apparently. Yeah, I mean, I wish the best for either team. I just yeah, I don't have a dog in the soccer fight, so I'm taking the international sleepover. Oh man, dude, you're awesome. You are awesome, brother. Let's see. So David says they don't wear big boy pants, they wear depends. Depend on America to bail. I'm pretty sure that was in reference to the what I was talking about when Ben-Gvir had really strongly said, like, Israel's a sovereign country. And I basically was like, great, You're on your own. That's pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. They don't wear big boy pants. They wear Depends and depend on America to bail them out all the time. Dude, that was bravo. That was pretty good. Whether you agree or disagree with that you got to admit it. That was pretty good. And then another. He also goes on to point out that they called our bluff, made us look relatively weak and unable to follow through. Which, quite frankly, look, I'm here to say, like, I'm happy we did not send people on the ground. I don't think we should. You guys know my position. We never should have been involved with that whole Iran fiasco to begin with. Never should have bombed them. Never should have gotten involved with it. It was absolutely ridiculous. But I'm happy that it did not. That for whatever reason there was no up into the and I say up to this point because like Ronan says, let's see what happens after FIFA, baby. But up until this point, there's been nobody en masse that was sent into Iran. I mean, I can't even imagine the countless Americans that would end up dead from that, unfortunately. And there is some credence here, and this has been something that is not just my opinion, but the opinions of many other people like Daniel Davis, McGregor, Larry Johnson, and many other much smarter, more intelligent guys than myself. Is what we have here is it has left Iran with a better place in the world, and it has left Iran essentially a much bigger player in the world. I do see that as a real potentiality. I do see that as something that would emerge. They pretty much stared down the barrel of an American gun, and they didn't falter. So at least up till now, they took their licks and they hit our bases and they did damage to us as well. I don't think that's the way that the administration had figured it was going to go. And look, I mean, that sends a message, man. And whether you agree or disagree with the whole thing, it undoubtedly sends a message. So with that being said, thank you for coming out. Once again, really, really appreciate it. If you like what I do, leave a like, maybe subscribe. Would love to see more of you guys and gals in the comments. I always love being able to respond to you guys and gals. If you missed the live, don't hesitate to throw a comment down below. Like I said, I will try my best to go back and to respond to each and every one of you to the best of my ability. I may not get to everybody, and I apologize for that, but thank you overall. So I hope you all have a great rest of your evening, and I will see you guys and gals on the next one. I will leave you here with a little bit of outro music. So thank you once again.